So, Charlie Kirk made his ridiculous statements about Mother Mary being the answer to toxic feminism on July 16th, 2025. That was the first time he ever mentioned anything about evangelicals and Protestants needing to venerate Mary. It was the Protestants that, well, they used to. Now they've become worldly with the Catholic Church. They're all colluding because they're not about Jesus. They've all just gone astray. They've all gotten on board with Turning Point. Look, this organization was never on the right side of anything, okay? They weren't. Nobody gets this kind of popularity at his age, okay, without there being something nefarious behind it. I mean, just ask any average American that still to this day is being silenced. And that should be plain as day, common sense. But while the shill for the Vatican, Candace there, serves the Vatican by pushing this, because the Vatican, the Roman Empire, has forever been going after the Jews, persecuting them in any way they can. They just persecute anybody. It seems to be, something they love to do. But while she blames the Jews that they were influencing him and tying it to donors, oh, no. If he was ever truly an evangelical, and if he was a truly saved, God would have protected him. Maybe. But once you start going down, God's done with this stuff. Because God knows this has been leading everyone astray. Again, she was the surrogate. Look at, they have a crown on her and everything. She wasn't even biologically Jesus' mother. She couldn't be. Because of the human nature of inherited sin, God would have to use her as a surrogate. That's the reason, again, he said that of the greatest men to be born of a woman was John the Baptist. There's nobody greater than Jesus. So what does that say? Well, it says that Jesus wasn't born of a woman. He wasn't genetically, biologically related to anyone here on earth. That's how divine his being was. She was a surrogate, and yet all these years, all these idols, all these statues, this one doing the bidding then. Because look, Candace and him were best friends. This was their goal, was to serve the Vatican, to go after the Jews. If the young people in this country don't want to see the writing on the wall for that, and you want to be taken in by these modern day Nazis that are pushing that it's all Israel. No, Israel doesn't. The Vatican is the ones that have been around the longest. Their intelligence agency was created before any country's was. They were the power. They are the power. They are the political influence. Sadly, our politicians on both sides of the aisle forgot, how much that really the Revolutionary War was not just about ending the kings of Britain ruling over us. It was about that no Vatican was going to either. Now, and that's been called out for many years, and then the church says, we're not trying to rule over, and the Pope isn't king. No, everything you do is against what the New Testament says, okay? So just stop the nonsense, okay? When Jesus says, call no one here Father, and you turn around and call yourself Pope, then you're just, you disrespect God, you mock God in every way, you're a pagan religion, okay? It's been said for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. It's the reason why when the church you're in has caused the most wars in the world, they have caused more wars than any country, then you should realize the religion you're in is not Christian. Which is why this one and Candace have been able to get the followers and the people that they do and their big podcast, is because they've been serving the Pope. The other lie he said, well, half lie, let's say. He said, quote, Mary was clearly important to early Christians. Have more young ladies be pious, be reverent, be full of faith, slow to anger, slow to words at times. Yeah, talk about toxic, no masculinity, just toxic. the thing is that, and that sounds like the Vatican is that way too. Is that if he loved this country, he wouldn't have been pushing the stuff he was pushing. If he was truly a Christian, God would have protected him. But if he was truly walking the walk of a Christian, if he was truly filled with the Holy Spirit, listen to me. If he had been filled with the Holy Spirit, he would have never made these statements about her. Never. If you're filled with the Holy Spirit, you know how much this angers God. And that church knows how much it angers God. They do it to mock him. They were once again the same. They were the same as the Roman Empire. So they mocked Jesus so much they executed him and nailed him to a cross. They continue to do it. So I'm telling you, as someone who knows the Holy Spirit, God is done with this. But what it should tell you about him is he was a false prophet. He was talking the talk. How in 5 years did he know anything about God? Somebody was giving him a bunch of talking points tied to that 7 mountain mandate because the Southern Baptist Convention, and I'm telling you, the Catholic Church, the Vatican's all tied into this. This was going to eventually happen. All the churches that once because you were the church. Like our founders of the 17th century and 18th century, they clearly understood this. Even the ones that didn't believe totally in Jesus. That didn't believe that he had resurrected. They didn't believe in all the miracles, but they believed in his message. They too even understood that none of this hierarchy shit. But then we've had presidents that turn around and collaborate with the Vatican. What in the hell kind of disaster is that? And that's what he was doing. Why? Because that's all the Vatican has ever wanted is power. They don't even know what Christian is about. He proved how anybody can talk the talk. Anybody can. But if you're walking the walk, God's going to protect you. And he wouldn't have been taken out. But even that, he would never have been telling evangelicals or Protestants that they should venerate Mary. Because anybody, if you doubt this, then you need to pray more to understand this then. Because if you're filled with the Holy Spirit, that Holy Spirit will let you know this is totally unacceptable. They've made excuse after excuse after excuse to have all their carved images, to continually mock Jesus Christ, okay? And make all their prayers and their beads and all of their nonsense that they get away with forever. Which is why that Vatican has been the power. They are the world power. Yes, hard to believe that tiny little country or that strip of land in the Vatican has all that power, but they do, because they go into every country and say, oh, we just want religious freedom in the case of coming to America, even though they fully had it in England, okay? But come here and say, we just want religious freedom. No, all of you countries that were working with the Vatican that still are disgracing Jesus' name, woe to you, all of you. You know better. Some of you know better, and he knew better. The biggest thing with the Protestants for most of the history of America was calling this stuff out. To then have him turn around and say that and Turning Point cover for it. Yeah, you're all working to serve your worldly churches. And what's at the rot of that is the Vatican.